Welcome to the Vallow Excel. Thank you for joining me. Happy hump day to everybody in the viewing audience. KTVB7 is the source. This is pertaining to Lori Vallow. She's on trial for the murder of her children, Charles Vallow and Tammy Daybell. We are going to discuss yesterday's testimony in court. This is a trial taking place in Boise, Idaho, Ada County Courthouse. My trust in my sister was broken, Lori Vallow's sister testifies. You threw Charlie in a pet cemetery like a piece of garbage. That is not Christ-like. There is nothing good in that, Shiflett told Vallow during a 2020 video visit that took place in jail. I'm going to read you the said information. The jury at the Ada County Courthouse on Tuesday heard an emotional call from Lori Vallow's sister, Summer Shiflett, begging her to explain how her niece and nephew were killed and buried in the backyard of Chad Daybell. So far, the jury has heard from some family and friends, including Lori Vallow's only surviving child, Kobe Ryan, as well as multiple police officers from Rexburg in Arizona. The jury has also seen body camera video of law enforcement searching her apartment, as well as the autopsy photos from Lori Vallow's children, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallow. These are the updates pertaining to yesterday's testimony. As most of you know, cameras are not allowed in the courtroom, but KTVB anchor Morgan Romero is in the court bringing the said information. This is a warning. Graphic and gruesome evidence is described below. A mass of a human remains, a dismembered, melted mass, was found in a green bucket deep under the soil on Chad Daybell's property. Special Agent Daniels testified that as the evidence recovered, team dug deeper. They found the green bucket, but didn't know what it was at first. Then they discovered a skull. This ultimately turned out to be Tylee's burial site. Daniels told jurors that they want to be able to show people this is how Tylee and JJ were buried to depict what happened in this case. Jurors also saw multiple photos from Daybell's property, including the interior of his shed and tools he owned that could have been used in Tylee's alleged murder. Crews discovered JJ's burial site before uncovering Tylee's. As was previously testified to, investigators were searching for a hidden grave around a pond at the back of Daybell's property when they spotted shorter grass and weeds. That's what you're looking for, Daniels told jurors. Because this raised questions, an evidence team began digging into the soil. They ended up finding JJ's body wrapped in black plastic in a shallow grave. Today's trial ended at 3:30 p.m. It will resume today, which it has, at 8:30 a.m. with more of Daniel's testimony. Just recapping yesterday's events. Do know that this information is very descriptive and may be not suited for all audience members. Thank you all so much for joining me in the chat and in the viewing audience. FBI agent, Special Agent Steve Daniels said they looked for remains in Daybell's pet cemetery using a backhoe and tractor to excavate. They also used hand tools. During the excavation just north of the pet cemetery, Daniels says a tractor uncovered a piece of vertebrae. He smelled decomposing human remains very strongly. Then a second bone was found. They later determined this was Tylee's burial site. As they dug deeper, layer by layer, the smell grew stronger. Now, what's interesting about this information, and macabre, of course, is the fact that these children had been buried almost a year when they were discovered by law enforcement, and yet the remains still had a distinct odor of decomposition. So I am curious to how long it takes for remains to be buried before there is no smell. And it's not to be disrespectful, but I am curious because I just find it interesting that this is almost a year later when the remains were found, and there is still a distinctive smell pertaining to the remains. Investigators then discover charred pieces of human flesh and bones sticking out of the ground. This area was difficult to process, Daniels says, because of the way the body was dismembered. I can't even imagine. Steve Daniels, a special agent with the FBI, takes the stand. Now, remember, we're going back into the time, so I'm going backwards pertaining to the information. This is pertaining to Mr. Steve Daniels, special agent with the FBI. He is on the evidence response team, ERT, and assisted in the search of JJ and Tyler on Daybell's property June 9, 2020. A local FBI agent asked the ERT to help come up with a search strategy and execute a search warrant to look for human remains and any other evidence of a crime. Daniels testified that because they had about a week's notice, he was able to review satellite imagery of Daybell's property and knew that the fire pit and pet cemetery would be places of interest. What is baffling is how long it took for them to decide to choose Mr. Daybell's property to look for the children. I think I would have gone there immediately once I realized Lori had married him, which is what drew suspicion to the death of Tammy. So this is why this is very interesting now. They didn't start putting two and two together about these people until they started digging into their behaviors, which is Tammy Daybell died. He marries Lori 2 weeks later. So this is when the ball gets rolling that something is suspicious between the two. Then naturally they would start digging into her life, which 2 children were missing. Her husband died previously in the summer. So I would have put Chad on the chopping block immediately. Dead husband from this woman, dead wife from this man, newly married to Miss Lori, 2 missing children. I would immediately said, where could the children be? Once we realized something's off with the lady's story, after talking to her, family members haven't seen these children or talked to them, the first thing I would have thought of is all the said information pertaining to dead spouses, missing children. Immediately, I would have thought of Chad Daybell. Let's go to his property. The children could have been discovered early on once they realized he just married her and his wife died 2 weeks beforehand. And then you find out, oh, she's got missing children and her husband died months beforehand. It should have been obvious then. Let's look at people who own property. No one's seen the children. Children haven't been to school. No one from the school or neighborhood have seen the children. Something's off here. Let's go to this man's property. Once you realize he had property, a massive amount of property, to me, in my opinion, that would have been checkmate. So did someone on the investigative team think of Chad Daybell's property first out the gate? And if so, what took so long to get a search warrant? Because it doesn't take damn near a year to get a search warrant for someone's property when you have people popping up dead and missing. Just saying. Okay, we're going to resume this conversation. A local FBI agent asked the ERT to come help with the search strategy and execute a search warrant to look for human remains and any other evidence of a crime. Daniels testified that because they had about a week's notice, he was able to review satellite imagery of Daybell's property and knew that the fire pit and pet cemetery would be places of interest. Geolocation records, cell phone records, text messages indicating where suspects involved in the case had been on the property also helped the FBI know where to dig. And that is another thing I was about to mention. They had to have gotten pings back from the data from everyone's cell phone, such as Alex, Chad, and Lori's, to decide to go to that location. And you hear that here in the testimony. Cell phone records, text messages indicating where suspects involved in the case had been on the property also helped the FBI know where to dig. Daniels said law enforcement conducted a preliminary survey. Once they arrived on the property, they determined the pond was an area of interest. Yes, hey, this is very valid. Every negative word that you can come up with describes these 3 heathens and their cohorts. Anyone that had knowledge of any nefarious plot and deaths of the children and wives and husbands. Attempted shooting of Brandon Boudreaux. Death of Tammy Daybell. Anybody had knowledge, they are also just as foul and disgusting. And the signs were always there. And please check out my extensive library on contents pertaining to this storyline. Because as I said, once a person starts talking about people dying, dead, zombies, reincarnation, past lives, your radar should have gone off. Hey, we need to call somebody. Something's not right with this person. Daniel said investigators found ash on the ground outside of the fire pit, leading them to build a grid system around the pit. They noticed a small silver charm early on in the dig. As they sifted through, they discovered suspected pieces of bone, organic material, and fabric. Daniels testified that they don't always know at the time they're collecting evidence what it will turn out to be or whether it will be important. That is determined after a lab tests the evidence. They also found a chain with the words Pure Vita on it inside the fire pit. Lord have mercy, this is awful. Law enforcement smelled an overpowering chemical accelerant as they were processing the fire pit, Daniels testified. Now remember, we're going back into testimony down to the beginning of the trial. After lunch, Schmidt's testimony continues. He discusses all the search warrants he asked for. They were granted. An investigation to JJ and Tyler's whereabouts. They looked into Alex Cox because he was already a suspect in the attempted shooting of Tammy Daybell in early October and in the attempted shooting of Lloyd Vallow's niece, ex-husband Brandon Boudreaux in Gilbert, Arizona. Schmidt contacted local shooting ranges and learned Alex shot at Unified Sportsman Club in Rexburg. He believes there were multiple times that Cox used a pseudonym when signing in. And why is that? Why do you need to be taking shooting lessons? Unless you are a hunter, you're planning to go hunting. What is the need of going to the shooting range? The shooting range is possibly for people who want to perfect their aim shot for the various reasons. They are hunters. They are learning how to use a gun for the first time, or they are already a gun carrier and wanting to perfect their aim shot. Stay woke. Oh, mercy. When the search warrant was executed at Chad Daybell's property, June 9, 2020, Schmidt was tasked with keeping an eye on Daybell. He was also tasked with digging through what later determined to be the burial site. He says he found teeth, pieces of bone, human flesh, as has already been testified to in this trial. He says he found what are believed to be Tyler's remains melted in a bucket. Are you hearing this? A whole human child has been reduced to a melted mass, because that's what has been described in news reports pertaining to Tyler Ryan. She was reduced from a whole human being to just a mass of flesh in a damn green bucket. I'm gone. The defense asks if he was given any perimeters of boundaries when digging for the children's remains. He said he was essentially given a shovel and told to go dig near the fire pit and the pet cemetery area. So these people have decided to go to Chad's property damn near a year later, and due to phone pings related to Alex Cox's cell phone, and they find a place on the property to dig where they have found both children. And this is very disturbing and macabre to know. As I said, these were whole human beings, and they have been reduced to being one melted down and put inside of a damn bucket, and one wrapped up in plastic duct tape, a 7-year-old child. And this is what they were reduced to. As you will hear testimony from the sister and her jailhouse call to Lori from 2020, thrown out like trash. The prosecution calls his third witness of the day, retired Rexburg police officer Rick Schmidt. He is discussing surveillance video from a storage unit in Rexburg that caught Lori and Chad going in and out multiple times in early October. Going back to the early morning of the trial, 11:30 a.m., defense attorney Jim Archibald then cross-examined Summer Shiflett, asking her to elaborate about her relationship with her sister, her brother Alex Cox, JJ, and Tyler, Lori's relationship with her kids, and Lori's relationship with her ex-husband, Charles Vallow. Summer says that she felt Lori would have never done anything to harm her children. because she was always a loving mother. She says Tylee adored her mother, and Lori was patient when Tylee would get sassy with her. Summer testifies that she was never concerned about the safety of Tylee around Lori. But of course, look at the end result. There you go. Could you ever imagine your sister wanting to kill her kids? Archibald asked. She replies, no. Could you ever imagine your sister being involved in conspiring to kill her kids? She replies, no. Archibald then inquires about how Lori's religious beliefs and spirituality evolved over time, particularly in the late 2018 after she met Chad. Summer testifies that Alex also believed the same things that Lori did, that they had lived multiple lives and that people could be ranked on a dark light scale. This was not something their family was ever taught growing up, believing in Jesus. Summer and Alex were close. Summer testifies that Alex got in a car accident when he was a teenager. This impacted his decision-making for the rest of his life. And they go on to talk about, Summer describes Alex as childlike in his decision-making. So perhaps the accident caused him to have a bad disposition, mean streak, and act as if he was still a teenager. Because if he didn't have these attributes beforehand, possibly the injury to his head, body, whichsoever, caused him to have a delay in response, acting out erratically, impulsively. Could that have been the issue with Alex Cox? Brain injury from the accident. Lori's sister Summer Shiflett is heard sobbing uncontrollably. June 24th, 2020 video visit between her and her sister while Lori's in jail. The courtroom is only able to hear the audio of the call. Lori's responses are short and mostly calm. Summer starts the call saying Tylee and JJ's bodies were found in Daybell's backyard, including Tylee being found in a pet cemetery. Summer asks Lori through sobs, did you know they were there? Lori responds, I can't talk about it. Summer expresses how much she loves her sister and their brother Alex and how she would do anything for her. Lori asks if Summer believes she would allow her kids to be killed. Summer tells her that she does because there's no other explanation and because Lori went off to Hawaii to get married on the beach while her kids were buried in the ground. Lori says there's another explanation, but she can't talk about it. I want to believe the best in you. I love you with all my heart. They were just little kids. I don't understand, Summer screamed at her sister. You know me, Summer, Lori said. That's what I thought, Summer responded. You still do, Lori said calmly. Summer tells her sister the whole family loved Tylee and JJ and would have taken care of them. She questions why Lori didn't call her after the kids died in September 2019 or after Alex died in December 2019. You didn't think this was going to cause pain throughout our entire family, Summer tells her sister. That's what you think, Lori responds. I think you were dancing on a beach, having a great time, getting married. That was later, Lori says. You have no idea what happened, Lori adds. She claims everyone is believing what they're seeing on TV. Nobody knows. I'm sorry. There is nothing in scripture that is godly about hurting a child, Summer tells Lori. JJ and Tylee deserve a proper burial with their family that loves them at the least, Summer tells her sister. She says what her sister has done is incredibly selfish, and this is not the sister she knows and loves. I have never seen you upset with your kids. You threw Tylee in a pet cemetery like a piece of garbage. That is not Christ-like. There's nothing good in that. They were innocent. They were loved, Summer screams at her sister. Lori's voice grows louder. I took care of them their whole life. Me. Summer tells Lori that Chad Daybell's teachings are lies and demands to know why Lori let her kids be murdered. Summer tells her to come up with an explanation publicly. Summer is seen crying in the courtroom as this call is played. Remember, I'm going back into testimony backwards. Lori is numb and quiet and obviously believes the rhetoric she has come up with in her mind and her brain versus what Chad has told her as well. Alex follows suit. These other cohorts follow in suit, listening to this zombie apocalyptic 140,000 BS. And what is so amazing about all of this, Lori is seen crying in court yesterday from the testimony from her sister, but there were no cries when they did this jailhouse conversation in 2020. Why not? Took you 3 years to decide to cry, Lori, Vallow, Daybell. Do you have remorse for killing your children? conspiring to kill Miss Tammy, and you're also killing your husband, shooting at Brandon Boudreaux. Do you have any remorse for these deaths and attempts of your niece's ex-husband, Lori Vallow? Will you admit to what you have done, conspired to? Why would you give the response, me, I took care of them? So what are you saying? That you owed your children death because you took care of them? You did all you could for them? It was their time to go. It is your time to shine. It was your time to shine with Chad Daybell. Is that what you were trying to tell your sister? And as someone said in a news report, if you believed in this 144,000 zombie apocalypse, you were chosen, you and Chad, you are the light ones, then you should have had no problem with saying, yes, we murdered the kids because of this reason. Yes, we thought the children were dark spirits. Yes, we thought they were zombies. And that is why we killed the kids. We have a mission to accomplish on this earth. We are the chosen ones. You see, Lori, when you believe in something, you walk the talk, and you have not done that. So that would lead some of us to believe you really don't believe in what you have been spewing out to your so-called friends, or the friends you used to have. Melanie, your other friends, podcast groups. And what we have to ask ourselves is if these crazy people still believe in this nonsense. And what I've always told you about true crime is if a person could kill a person for no reason, why would you be special? Because that's the point of the story. Who was next on the chopping block? Stay woke now. Who was next on the chopping block? And you will hear also later in my commentary today from the brother who spoke with a news agent that she turned against everybody when the children went missing, Lori, and stopped speaking to them. Any commentary negative about her beliefs, she cut them off. So that's the whole point of the story. Today I cut you off, tomorrow I chop off your head. What's the difference? You can kill your own damn kids, kill your husband, you can kill your brother. And I got a sneaky suspicion Alex Cox had a little help to get in that casket. Why not? Follow the trail, because the breadcrumbs are kind of heavy, if you get my drift. Summer Shiflett said she was close with Lori in the past. Summer did not discover the kids were missing until December 2019, about 3 months after they were allegedly killed. Don't you find that strange? So if you're close to your sister, how's it you didn't know that they were dead, missing? What? You didn't talk to her? You didn't call Lori 3 months? Find that strange. Or you were calling her and she didn't answer, or she changed her number. Because Coley has testified he tried reaching his mother and the number was disconnected. And my, all those burner phones. Lori, how could you all keep up? Because as somebody on TV said the other day, I could barely keep up with one cell phone, let alone 6 or 7. Devices, iPads, computers, laptops, emails, Gmail accounts. But when you are notorious, deviant-minded, thinking you're working for Jesus Christ, superstar, instead you're working for Satan, you can keep up with a lot of emails, Gmails, keeping notebooks of all your nefarious dealings, keeping an itinerary, because really it's more sinister, the deeds you are perfecting. Indeed. Indeed. All right, everybody. The sister says it was 3 months after they were allegedly killed. Summer testifies that Lori told her she knew where the kids were and that they were safe. Yeah, dead. That's about as safe as you can get. Is it not, Lori? 3 feet under? I say you'd be pretty safe down there underneath the soil inside somebody's backyard. You can't get any safer than dead. I'm just saying. Wow. Summer testified that Lloyd told her she knew where the kids were and that they were safe. Summer trusted what her sister told her when she said they were safe. Shiflett is crying and wiping tears from her eyes during this line of questioning. Prosecutors asked if her trust in her sister changed after the kids were discovered and why. I felt lied to and my trust in my sister was broken, Shiflett said. A recording of a video visit on June 24, 2020 between Shiflett and Vallow, who was in jail, is now being played. Defense has finished cross-examination, questioning Balance about GPS location data for Lloyd and Chad, and redirected prosecution then asked Balance whether someone can turn off their Google location services. He says yes, they can opt out of those services on your device. Balance has been excused. The prosecution has finished their examination of Special Agent Balance. Vallow's defense attorney John Thomas is now cross-examining the special agent. Prosecution now questioning Balance about October 18, 2019 geolocation records and tower interactions. Balance says he was asked to look at this date because Daybell's wife, Tammy, was found dead overnight between October 18th and October 19th, based on cell phone tower signals between 9:35 and 10:55 p.m. October 18th. Phones associated with Daybell and Cox exchanged multiple text messages. Imagine that. Balance testified that Daybell got a new phone in early October. Wood asked if Balance noticed a pattern of communication between that phone and the phone associated with Cox once Daybell activated his new phone number. Balance said, I would just note it had heavy interactions with phones attributable to both those people. So we've got Cox and Chad going back and forth during the 18th of October and the 19th when it is suspected that Tammy Daybell was murdered. Didn't die in her sleep, wasn't sickly, asphyxiated is the matter of death for Tammy Daybell. Chad, did you put a pillow over your wife's face while she slept, or did you give her an agent that would cut off her oxygen and she would strangle, choke to death? And we have heard that asphyxiation is a very painful death, such as drowning. I've been told through Google searches that drowning is worse than being smothered to death. Imagine that. Now, the dead can't speak, and one would argue, how would someone know which one is worse? I said, they're all the same to me. And I came up with this information when I was doing my research for Camille McKinney's death, because allegedly one of the cohorts put their hands over the child's nose and mouth and suffocated her to death. And later she was found in a dumpster, construction dumpster. My. So to me, asphyxiation, drowning, strangled, I think it's all the same to me. It's not a way that anyone would want to die. No one wants to drown. No one wants to be strangled. And no one wants to be asphyxiated. Checkmate. Once again, these two have been conspiring. Daybell gets a new phone. Cox and he have data that shows heavy interactions between the two. Google location history showed that between 10:07 and 10:45 p.m. on October 18, Cox's phone was located at the Salem Church near Daybell's property. So once again, we have Mr. Cox near Daybell's property, and our Miss Tammy miraculously dies. So what was Mr. Cox doing? Why do you need help killing your wife? Or do you need help setting her up to look like she died peacefully in her sleep? This will make you wonder if Mr. Cox has murdered some other people. I'm just saying. Because he's at the scene where the children were buried in the backyard, and now his phone pings at the Salem Church near Daybell's property between 10:07 and 10:45 at night. And I got a funky feeling they were not at church. Balance testified that based off of Wi-Fi signals, cell tower interactions, and stored Google location history, a Gmail account and phone associated with Alex Cox is near Vallow's apartment. In Rexburg around 9:45 a.m. on September 23rd, 2019. He tracked the phone, then moving north and to Daybell's property outside Rexburg. Vallow says he looked at this date because investigators indicated there was a potential event at that time that was associated with J.J. Vallow. So here we have again, Cox is at the apartment complex, sister rented for him, and then they tracked that phone moving north to Daybell's property once again. So here we have more interaction of Cox's phone tracking to Daybell's property. September 23rd, when they believe the child was murdered, Mr. JJ. Then again, when Tammy died in October. Then again, disposal of Miss Tyler. Very busy. All right. After the phone is traced to the highway, Google location history shows Cox's phone was at multiple locations on Daybell's property, including very close to where JJ's body was buried. FBI Special Agent Nicholas Balance, who was on the Cellular Analyst Survey Team, CAS, is back on the stand, which is the information I just gave you Tuesday morning. He specializes in analyzing cell phone records and geolocation data based on Google accounts and cell phone tower interactions. He's discussing interactions between the Google account and phone number associated with Lori's brother, Alex Cox, Lori's cell phone, and Lori's husband, Chad Daybell's cell phone. Balance is testifying to cell phone tower interactions from the area covering Daybell's property the day after investigators believe Tyler was killed and the day they believe JJ was killed. If you need verification for the information that I have given you, KTVB7 is the source. To recap the information in this live stream, Tuesday's testifying is of agents giving cell phone data, pings of Mr. Cox going from Rexburg, Idaho, where he lived in an apartment, to Chad Daybell's property a few times from the month of September to October. And all coincide with the estimation of the murder and discarment of JJ, Tyler, and the death of Tammy Daybell. And how is he going to explain? Which he can't because he's dead. But the prosecution is laying out the timeline to show you he was complicit in the murder and the deaths and discarment of these children and also Tammy. Now, there are no direct messages being revealed that Lori Vallow asked anyone to kill her children. She wouldn't have to put it in a text message, and she knew not to. That was the purpose of getting all these burner phones, messaging, dropping phones, getting a new phone, so on and so forth, because they hatched all this plan face to face. I think it's obvious. But where they messed up was getting all these burner phones and going into their Gmail accounts and then being tracked to the locations of the dead people. Checkmate. You see, you may not have said directly, hey, I'm getting ready to go take the body here. Hey, I'm getting ready to kill the kid. Hey, kill my kid. Because you all discussed all that face to face. But where you messed up, Mr. Cox took his stupid phone to the places where the dead people were found. Chad talking to his wife about doing things on the property with a fire, killing a raccoon. That was stupid. And then next thing you know, they find ashes and remains of 2 children. And just to hear how Tyler was dismembered and melted down to just a mass. That is the most disgusting thing besides just the actual death and dismemberment. You tortured this child. You killed her. Then you cut her up. Then you melted her down to nothing. And then you discarded her in a shallow grave, pet cemetery, however you want to word it. Wrapping a baby boy up like a mummy. Tying him up as if he's going to damn move. Why are you tying him up? That's something you would do if you were throwing somebody in the ocean, putting cylinder blocks attached to their feet. Are you hearing this information? Why do you need to tie up the body and you're throwing it in the damn grave. Make me understand. You know, it's one thing to murder a person, but then when you do all this extra stuff to the body, it's heinous. Let me guess, you were trying to burn the spirit out of Tylee, Lori, Chad? Because people are going to ask that question. Well, why was one child burned and the other one wasn't? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Oh, man. Let's hear that phone call. Thank you all so much for following the content. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All students in chat to welcome during this live stream. We are going to get to the gist of this harrowing story. The information pertaining to the deaths of these children and the discardment of the children is so vile. I mean, there are no words. And you heard the FBI agent discovering the girl child. They didn't even know what they were discovering naturally until you start seeing bone and then the smell. And then you realize, oh my goodness, this is a human being here that's been reduced to nothing but a skull and a lump of burnt flesh, bones and matter. And people need to know what happened in order to give the right verdict in this trial and also with the cohorts. Oh, wow, wow. God help me. One second, everybody. I'm just sick to my stomach.
How are you? Not good. How are you? Not good. I don't know what to say. I'm willing to listen if you want to talk to me. I just don't know what to say. I don't know what anybody knows. I've been in isolation for 2 weeks, so I don't know anything that's going on. I haven't talked to anyone. Well, they know that they found Tylee buried in a pet cemetery and Disney buried on Chad's backyard. And we don't understand how the hell that they're flying. Can you tell us? And we're never seeing it.
Doctors. Sorry about that. Intermission, everybody. Oh, Lord help me. This is so bad.
Did you know they were there? Can't talk about it.
I can't talk about it. Oh my goodness. Sick.
I don't know what to say, Lord. You know how much I love you and Alex. I'm sick to my stomach.
Right there, Lori lets you know she knows what happened to the children. She's been lying to law enforcement and family members for months. But here in this jailhouse phone call in 2020, December 2020, Lori has basically said, I can't talk about it. So that means she knows about it. And sitting here acting like, oh, I don't know what's going on. I haven't talked to anybody. You do know what's going on. You're in jail because you're accused of killing your kids. And you know what happened to them. And you told these people to kill your kids, or it was put in your head to kill your kids. Either way, you have knowledge that they're dead. You have knowledge that they were going to die. You have knowledge that they were discarded. And just like in the commentary I read pertaining to this phone call, you had the nerve to tell your sister, oh, well, I wasn't jumping up and down when they were dying, but I went to Hawaii later. You married him 2 weeks after he killed his wife. The hell are you talking about? His wife wasn't even cold. And you were already on an island, gallivanting around in your white garb, you and him, with them fake ass rings, and all these people are dead. But then you sit here in this jailhouse called mummified yourself, giving these evasive answers to your sister with no regard for life. And there's no way we're going to sit here and believe a 40-something-year-old woman would stoop this low to kill her kids for any reason. Religion, a man, greed, insurance policy, inheritance, whatever. There's no reason for this. But we know that people kill for various reasons. Heat of the moment, crime of passion, jealousy, envy, cover-up, crimes, fraud. And when you try to get into their mind, it's pointless. Because in the end, there was no reason to kill these people. Each person could have just walked away and kept it moving. And you can't say that you're Christ-like and you believe in Christ and you've been plotting the deaths of all these people. And God never told you to kill these people, Lori Vallow, Chad Daybell. Nobody told you to kill these people. Because God is the Alpha and Omega. And he says it in the scripture. And only through his son can you get to him. So there's no way I believe in my right mind Jesus spoke to you or Chad and told you anything. Because so far, everything that you have mentioned that allegedly Jesus said to you all is a lie. The only person that was talking to you demons was Satan. And I must say, he was speaking quite clearly because you followed suit. And as we say in the streets, the devil doesn't pay you anything. So why are you working for him for free? And your exchange now is sitting inside of a jail cell waiting to see what 12 members of a jury are going to decide about your fate. So you see, you didn't gain anything. And playing these mind games, skinning and grinning in court, being evasive with your son, jailhouse call, same as with your sister here, was all for nothing.
Anything like you never let anything come into like this and just let him be thrown away like garbage. And he was like this. It's too painful. Did you think I let that happen? Yes, I do. That's nice. Is there
Oh, sorry about that, though.
They're willing to listen if you want to talk to me. I just don't know what to say.
She told her that's nice.
Anything else? I've been in isolation for 2 weeks, so I don't know anything that's going on. I haven't talked to anyone. Well, they know that they felt Tyler buried in a pet cemetery and Jesse buried on Chad's backyard. you don't understand how that her life. Tell us. And we're never saying.
I was rewinding. Sorry about that.
Did you know they were there? Can't talk about it. I don't know what to say, Lord. You know how much I love you and Alex. Just stick to my stomach. I didn't see anything like you never let anything happen to like this and just let it be thrown away like garbage. And he can't even let this. It's too painful. And do you think I let that happen? Yes, I do. That's nice. Is there another explanation? I'm willing to hear it. I don't want to. Absolutely, but I can't talk about it. You went up to Hawaii, you were dancing on the beach while your kids are on the ground. You had to have known when he was there. I just can't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. I want to believe the best in you. I really do. I love you with all my heart. It kills me. But they were just little kids. I don't understand. I don't understand. You know me, summer. That's what I thought. You still do. Lori, and you,
You know me, Summer. You still do. Well, no, she doesn't know you. Maybe perhaps the family knew that there were some issues with you, but they didn't dwell on them. They never thought that you would kill your kids, conspire to kill your children, lie about it after the fact. But I think somewhere down the road, in all your different relationships and marriages and breeding children, somebody knew something wasn't right with you, as we heard commentary from your mother. So what? She believes in past lives. She's not harming anyone. You mean she didn't harm anyone yet at that time, but she did eventually. Checkmate. Let her believe what she wants to believe. She hasn't harmed anyone. She's not bothering anybody believing that she was a tulip in the garden. She was a ladybug in the garden. But look where all that ideology got her down the road. Right where she's sitting in jail. Past lives, zombies being chosen, God speaking to her, Jesus speaking to her in the temple, having an affair, lying, buying 15,000 burner phones. Look where all that got her. Her and Chad and Alex. What does it say in the scripture? Chad, Lori, the wage of sin is death. Amazing how we pick what we want from the scripture when it's convenient. God said the wage of sin is death. And you all were just fornicating, walking around in public around your friends and associates, married, holding hands, going in the temple, disrespecting the temple, disrespecting yourselves, disrespecting your spouses, disrespecting the sanctity of matrimony. Your children had to be putting two and two together. Ain't no telling what was really going on between Tylee and Lori, going back and forth with this 144,000. Maybe perhaps the child knew her fate was going to be short dealing with these people. Maybe she said something to Lori. There was a pop-off. Who's to say? Because Lori's not talking. And I doubt that old choir boy locked up, he ain't gonna say nothing either. or a willing. The wage of sin is death. But yet these people conspired to murder all these people because they had a dark spirit. They were dark. And they were the only ones that were chosen for the mission of the gathering of the people. They were the light ones. Now imagine Jesus said, well, I don't think so. That's why you all are incarcerated. So the light ones didn't win. How about that?
And didn't tell us that you lived to be the girl like a piece of trash. That I don't know you because you would have never done anything like that. That's correct. And if you knew and didn't tell us, that's how okay it is. We love them. We would have taken them. We would have taken care of them. You could have gone out and done anything you wanted. That's what you think? I don't know what to think. None of us do. You haven't told us anything. We believe you. We stood up for you. I'm cheating on much. I would love to. You cut me and Mom off for 4 months and told everyone not to trust us because we tell Adam. And now we find this out and you expect me to just keep going on faith when there's been zero explanation and you expect me to just keep believing without ever having a question? Say that. That is what you're saying. Either explain it or don't expect me to not be upset and doubt you when the kids are on Chad's property. I'm not okay. I love him with all my heart. I would have taken Tylee and JJ in a heartbeat, and everybody else would have too. You know that. If they were in any danger, do what happened. You're right. Nobody does because you said nothing. Because everybody sees what's on TV. That has nothing to do with TV. This is your and my conversations. Before you left and cut me off. And now you expect me to be there for you when you were going to abandon me. And if you weren't in jail, you wouldn't even be talking to me and we wouldn't even know they were dead still.
And that here.
Wow, that's deep. Still bland. You don't know what happened. I would love to tell you. Very mild-mannered, docile. But I'm sure the deaths of those children weren't docile, mild-mannered in the murdering of the children. Imagine that. Lord is something else.
This is your opinion. Yes! I deserve more than that. I've been there for you like a rock, and I went on TV and defended you. I've done everything to defend you.
Yes, you did.
I still would right now if you would tell me the truth.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have done that. You should have known something was wrong.
I would love to. Well, then, love to. You didn't want to in October, November, December, January, or February when you weren't in jail.
Right.
Why didn't you tell us then? Why you didn't call me when Alex died, which now I'm glad he's gone. If he was a part of this, but you didn't call to tell me Alex died or that your kids are gone. Nothing. You don't think that's gonna cause pain throughout our entire family? Well, you don't think I've been paid? No, I don't. I think you were dancing on the beach having a great time. Getting married. And you took pictures to prove your kids don't deserve a burial, but you need to get wedding pictures? You don't think that's upsetting? Nobody knows. Sorry, honey.
Wow. Sorry, honey. Nobody knows.
And nobody knows except for you and the Lord. Yeah, ask him. I have. And guess what?
Wow.
I don't have
Ask him.
one scripture that says it's okay for children to be
Exactly.
thrown away like garbage in the ground.
Exactly.
And that's okay. There is nothing in the scriptures that is godly about hurting a child. Nothing. And they deserve a proper burial with family that loves them at the least. I can't support that. That's hurtful to everyone. That's the most selfish, incredibly selfish thing I can think of. I can't think of anything worse. I don't understand. I don't understand. This is not my fault. I'm not alone. I've never even seen you be upset with your kids. I went to bat for you and said that to everyone. You have been upset with them. You have been. How can you just go on without them, without any upsetness, and without telling us anything, and they expect us to understand? Who knows in the world? Nobody in the world knows what I've been through. And I don't expect you to. All you've seen is what's on TV. No, that's not what he says. And all the influences of all the people around. Okay, so now I'm deceived. Everyone in the world is deceived except for you. No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying nobody's seen me on the floor crying. Nobody knows what I've been through. With my children that I love more than anything.
Wow.
Mine. Mine. You were dancing on a beach with a smile on your face, taking wedding photos. Yeah, months later. You don't really need to go on with life trying to be happy, trying to find some kind of happiness. You think I want to be alone? Do you think that your mother and your sister and your son don't deserve to know that the children are gone? Why wouldn't you call and tell us that?
Because she couldn't. She can't tell you she murdered him.
You said you want to go on and be happy. You're just going to be happy without your family and your life until you're stuck in jail, and I'm the only one stupid enough to be your friend when I've been your best supporter, Lori. I've loved you my whole life. I still do. I can't bear to think anything bad about you. It hurts me. I don't want to see you in jail. I don't want you to be there. I don't want people to misunderstand. If you would tell me the truth, I would stand up for you for the rest of the time. You know that I would. I know you would. But there is nothing okay about this. Nothing.
I know.
If you think it's okay, well, you have greatly been deceived if you think it is okay. It's okay. Nothing about this is okay. We've all read the scriptures. I know you've told me about a lot of your spiritual experiences. You know I'm trying to support.
As you listen to this BS, Lori is gone. Now, as they said, she's been medicated for a while, possibly by medical officials, nurses, and maybe she realizes what she's done. I don't know. I don't know if she'll ever tell the truth. But during this 2020 Jailhouse video, she's bland. She's questioning everything that the sister's questioning. You think I did this? Oh, nice. Then she finally says, oh, I know it. I know it. It's bad, me being in here. You don't know what I've been through. So it's like her children were objects to her. I own them. I care for them. So it was my turn, my time. So that would lead you to think that it really wasn't about the 144,000 and a mission of gathering people, being the chosen one. These chosen people don't need their children or anybody or family members. They just need to be together, the 144,000 chosen ones. Get rid of your kids, get rid of your family members. It's just going to be us against the world, against the dark ones. So the dark ones were your own damn children. Tammy Daybell, Charles Vallow. You tried to kill Brandon. As I said, who was next? Anybody got in their way. And I find it strange that these are the same people that were, these family members were covering for them, upholding them, this woman, Summer, sister, mom, but then she cuts them off because they were deceived. And then here you hear the sister telling us you were deceived, and Lori changes the tune. Well, I ain't saying that I wasn't really. She knows she was deceived. She knows she was deceived. She's never going to admit that, though. As I said, it'd be a while before Lori admits to anything. She or Chad. And she was possibly feeling some type of way in court yesterday when her sister was testifying because her sister had faith in her. She loves her sister, loves Lori, Lolo. She didn't want to disappoint her, but in the end, she didn't care about disappointing anyone, including her children. That's why they're not here, because they were objects to Lori, obviously. And the sick part of the story is that you had to have been feeling that way before their deaths, because you just don't wake up and kill your kids, no matter what you believe in spiritually, religiously, entities speaking to you, allegedly being talked to by Jesus. Why in the world would you kill your children if you love them? You sit here in this conversation and say you love your kids, but you're the same one that murdered them. Whether it was by your hand or not, you knew they were going to die, and you didn't stop it. That's the point. So how do you just wake up and get into that mode of thinking? Yeah, my kids died for this reason. That's why you're telling her, I can't tell you everything. You don't know. You weren't there. So you're alluding to the fact that you know what happened. So you don't even have to say, I did it, or he did it, they did it. Then you tell her, I don't want to be alone. See, that was your problem in the first place, Lord, what got you down this wicked path. You're one of those type of people that has to have a man. That's why you had 5 husbands. Stay woke, everybody. I don't want to be alone. Well, you're contradicting yourself. Isn't that the reason why you killed the kids? And so you could be alone with this man? So now you're trying to make it seem like, oh, the kids just miraculously crawled into a grave, tortured to death, and then you had to go find somebody to be with. But you've been messing around with the man while you're still married. And he did as well. So as I told people, this is a combination of greed, lust, warped ideology, plural. Sometimes I wonder if she even believes this garbage. So she's contradicting herself here talking to her sister. That ain't why I killed him. Basically, that's what you're trying to say. You don't know what happened. Wasn't about no man. There's no way she would have lived with letting somebody else take her children. Because that means people would start to gossip and talk about her. Oh, she ran off with a man. We had to go take care of her children. She wasn't going to allow that. And they were too worried about their image in the church. So see, this is also about imagery. We want to still remain in the church, but we're sinners and fornicators and murderers. We're still going to walk up in the temple, perpetrating and pretending, going up in the temple as adulterers, making people think we know what the hell we're talking about when we are bottom feeders. But you don't know that. And we aren't going to let you know that. Because we have an image to maintain. Because we're what? Psychos. Sociopaths. Let's finish this.
Support you in all of them, but I am telling you because I love you with all my heart. Please consider that Chad has lied and been deceived, and that you have been deceived, and that this is not what you think it is. There's nothing okay about killing children. Nothing. And even if you didn't kill them, and Dad didn't kill them, and Alex didn't kill them, you threw them away like garbage in the ground. Tammy'S bones are burned. I can't have you guys and threw her in a pet cemetery.
You think I did that? Yes, Lord, I think you did that. There's no such thing as threw them away. They had to be dead first unless they were buried alive. But we know that the girl child was burned. So it doesn't matter. Alive burned, dead burned. And I'm going to bring you testimony from court this morning during this live stream pertaining to the death of JJ. It's not pretty. This is an evil bitch. And I do believe there's something wrong with her. We're not going to deny that. Anybody that's willing to kill people for no reason, yes, they have something wrong with them. Whether there is a clinical diagnosis rendered or not. But the point of the story is going to be insane, sane, lucid, delusional, or evil. Which is it? Please follow my content in my library pertaining to, is this woman delusional or evil? Same question for Mr. Chad Daybell. And then we have to ask the same of the brother who's now no longer living. What would possess him to kill all these people? Conspire. Shoot at Tammy. Shoot at Brandon. All for the love of Lori, Vallow, Daybell. Was there something incestual between the two at any time in their lives? Why go into the dungeon for Lori, Vallow, Daybell? Because this shows that these two are warped inside of their heads, and perhaps the gene pool is warped in the bloodline, and that perhaps their behavior comes from their biological parents. And we've got testimony from the cousin that the father was a very stern individual, anti-government, been to penitentiary for tax evasion. Perhaps they got their ways from their father.
You know, that's so degrading. How could you let them do that? I don't understand. It's so painful, I can't even tell you. I don't know what is saying, but please consider that your dependency, that is not Christ-like. There's nothing good in that. There's nothing good in that. That's not a test for you. They were innocent, and they were loved, and they didn't deserve to be treated that way. People left them their whole life. They took care of them their whole life. So why would you let me bury somebody? I didn't. Well, then come up with an explanation publicly.
Come up with an explanation publicly. She can't. Because in order to come up with an explanation publicly, Miss Summer, she would have to admit to the motive of murdering her children, murdering Charles, and also Tammy Daybell, and shooting at Brandon Boudreaux. Yes, I'm still covering the case pertaining to the West. That's my commentary and sources pertaining to Lori Vallow Daybell. Thus far. Court is still resumed today. I'm also going to bring you information pertaining to the death, what they have revealed in court today. I could save it for later, but I'm starting to get behind because there's too many stories to cover all at once. And it's draining me talking about these disgusting people. And I'm really tired of talking about murder every day. As you heard, the sister was questioning her almost 3 years ago. Why? Tell me why. Lori can't tell you why, as I just said. Because in order to tell you why, she'd have to be admitting to knowing how the children got dead in the first place. And knowing that she would be going to trial for murder, which is what is happening right now in Idaho, that would contradict her presuming herself innocent, entering in an innocent plea. And I'd like to know what is legally wrong with her mentally. What is the diagnosis? And will we hear a diagnosis from a mental health official in this trial? Because in the end, people are still going to say, well, she knew better because they did too much covering up for her to not know right from wrong. And when you start covering up, that means you're lucid. You see, a sick person would admit, yeah, I did it because of this. I was hearing voices, or such and such said this to me, and such told me to do this. An entity said this. There's too much cover up. There's too much covering. Getting burner phones, devices, lying to people, moving around, changing cities, addresses. You see, Lori is a runner. She's been a runner her entire life. That is the reason why she moved around, raising her children, going from one relationship to the other. I'm going to bring you information later pertaining to Tylee and Mr. Charles. I believe there was more going on in that relationship between she and Charles, and that might be possible the motive for getting rid of her kids, because I'm starting to see a pattern with her commentary. I took care of them. She was sick. I did this. I did this for her. I did this for him. She's talking about her children as if they were objects, that she owned them. So in the end, I could do what I want with them. Do you all see what I'm saying? I was there. It was me. I'm the one that was doing the taking care of the children. Now it's my time to have some fun, peace of mind. I'm done with them. That's basically what she's saying, in my opinion. I did all I could do for them. It's my turn. Perhaps she did think they were dark, sucking up her energy. We have testimony that the little girl was a bit sassy. Perhaps Lori perceived this as a dark entity. The little boy being autistic, hard to maintain. You have testimony from that from the babysitter. He was angry, throwing things. Perhaps Lori saw this as another dark spirit. Can't manage him. He's out of control. This is Satan's work. My daughter, we have too many issues with one another. She doesn't listen. Hard-headed. That's Satan's work. Do you all see where I'm going with this? My husband, we don't get along. He has violent streaks, tendencies. I'm going to bring you that testimony from Tylee after the death of Charles. They never got along. And that there were times when he was violent. Stay woke. I told you there's always more to the story if you just listen. And this is not to excuse killing these people. But if you have a warped sense of ideology, it doesn't take much to push you over. And that's what people need to understand about the human mind. It's just tissue up there between your ears. And the mind can tell you anything. You can fly. You're going to be a movie star, CEO of a corporation, and those things never transpire. But in your head, you may believe that you are already those things. And as I said, if you are already suffering from mental illness, the mind can play tricks on you. And I believe her mind had been playing tricks on her for some time. She possibly felt overwhelmed with being a mother, obligated, not getting what she felt she deserved in life, unhappy, dissatisfied. And this is usually when people will exact impulsive actions, when they are dissatisfied in life, upset, disgusted. They do run off and do crazy things, start drinking, using drugs, gambling, taking up with the wrong kind of people, listening to crazy ideologies, rhetoric, religious shenanigans. That's what I believe happened here. A tainted Lori crossed a tainted Chad Daybell, because that is the whole purpose of 6 degrees of separation. The earth is vast, long, wide, but somehow the earth will bring two jacked up beings together, such as with the Wells case. What are the odds of two people having similar backgrounds and crossing paths with one another to breed children, neglect their children, two drunks breeding, have past indiscretions with the State Department, losing custody of children, and then they meet up somehow on this earth to only lose their children and have a little girl go missing from their home in Tennessee. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? And neither one of them are from the same demographic, but somehow they met, meshed, evenly yoked in negative behavior, made children, stayed in trouble with the law, the husband, Mr. Wells, and now there are no children in their custody. Because you don't know people. You don't know people. And people will murder their children for the most mundane of reasons. And I think most cases of murder when it comes to children is that the people are tired of rearing their children. And that's what I'm getting from Lori Vallow Daybell. That's why she keeps saying, but I raised them. I took care of them. She was sick. I was there. I did everything. So it's basically, and they owe me something. See, that's why I tell people you have to listen. It's way more than religious. That's just the fluff of the story. We were chosen. There's way deeper reasons why the children were murdered, if you understand what I'm saying. The religious part is part of it. That's the part that looks good on paper. But you have to be going through something to be driven to believe the 144,000 BS to kill the kids in the first place, if you understand what I'm saying. So you have two tainted souls linked up. And that's what Satan did. He took Lori, who's already tainted and dark, and crossed her to the path of another dark soul, which was Chad Daybell. The brother, his spirit was dark. He's following in behind Lori. Don't you see how the train is rolling? So we got two dark people meeting Chad Daybell. The rest is history. It didn't take much. And I'm going to bring you commentary pertaining to a friend who decided to speak publicly about her relationship with Alex Cox. That will be my next live. This is why we have crime. Because one thing begets another. I ain't happy. I ain't satisfied. I'm disgusted. They owe me. I'm tired of living like this. I want more in life. I want a house on the hill. I want money in the bank. I want this. I want that. I ain't getting it. So I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get to the next level. And that means eradicating anybody on site that ain't on board with my plan, my mission. And that was Tammy Daybell, Charles, Vallow, Tylee, Ryan, and JJ. Checkmate. The mind can tell you anything. You see, some people will say, well, I'm fed up with this relationship, this courtship. I'm out. I'm walking out, getting a divorce, leaving this person alone. These two said, nah, that's okay. We'll kill them. Maintain our image in the church. We don't want to look bad in front of the church folks. So their image was more important than the sin of murder. So now you see why I said the mind can tell you anything. Because the mind was supposed to have told you, now you know thou shalt not kill. That's in the scripture. But the image of how we look is more important than murder. But this is why people are ill. Because they allow their thought process to oversee common sense and right and wrong. And that's what has happened with all these entities that cross paths with one another. This is a very sad story. It's a pathetic story. And it will happen again because we have a lot of mentally ill, disturbed people, people with warped ideas and religious ideologies, and they do not know how to differentiate common sense versus the truth and what is wrong. Let's discuss this morning's activities in Ada County Courthouse. Thank you for joining me. Oh, mercy. What a day. Prayers to the Vallow family, Tammy'S family, Ryan family, because this should not have happened. And as I said, I believe Lori's family has always known that something was wrong with her and had some issues. They just did not possibly think it would lead to murder, but it did. KTVB is my third source pertaining to Lori Vallow. Please go to my community board for set updates and posts. Lori Vallow Daybell trial day 16. JJ Vallow's cause of death was asphyxiation. An Ada County medical examiner said JJ Vallow died from asphyxiation by a plastic bag over the head and duct tape over the mouth. Content warning. This story contains graphic language that may be disturbing to some readers. Week 3 of testimony in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial started back up Wednesday morning, revealing the cause of death of J.J. Vallow, which was never known previously, asphyxiation by a plastic bag and duct tape. Okay, I'm going to start from early in the morning. I'm going to go start from the beginning because usually that's at the end of the article. So we're going to go start from the very beginning pertaining to court this morning. Thank you so much. And I'll recap later in the next live stream pertaining to this. So far, the jury has heard from some family and friends, including Lori Vallow's only surviving child, Kobe Ryan, as well as multiple police officers from Rexburg in Arizona. The jury has also seen body camera footage of law enforcement searching her apartment, as well as the autopsy photos from Lori Vallow's children, Tyler Ryan and J.J. Vallow. During the cross-examination, Shiflett told the defense that her sister was a loving mother and that her children adored her. She also said she could never have imagined Vallow doing anything to harm her children, let alone kill or conspire to kill them. Okay. The testimony was emotional, and a phone call recording between the two sisters while Vallow was still in jail played in court. Shiflett testified to the jury that Vallow had told her she knew where the children were and that they were safe. Court ended Tuesday after Vallow's younger sister, Summer, testified on the stand to discuss Vallow's relationship with her children. By placing these planks and rocks, you would do that to prevent wildlife from getting to the human remains. This is to go into what was transpired today in court. If they were scattered, a neighbor or something could find them, Daniel said. Let's go back up. Going to start with 8:46 a.m. this morning. FBI agent Steve Daniels is back on the stand Wednesday morning. He is explaining the excavation process of J.J. Vallow's remains. The jury is seeing photos of the process, the topsoil being scraped off the ground, revealing 4 large rocks below and multiple roots in the soil that look to be cut. What's interesting is the precise way these rocks are laid out, Daniel said. Somebody's taken time and effort to cut through these roots. Daniel said someone deliberately placed those rocks there. It was a good indication it was a burial site, Daniel said. Under those rocks were 2 wooden planks. Out of all of the burials that Daniels has excavated, he said this was the most precise. Very interesting. By placing these planks and rocks, you would do that to prevent wildlife from getting to the human remains. If they were scattered, a neighbor or something could find them, Daniel said. Very interesting information. So putting all these items on top of the dead person was to prevent wildlife from getting down in there and bringing the remains out, as you hear in testimony, to scatter about. And naturally, that would be a surprise to perhaps have a barbecue, have some people over, and a dog or a squirrel is running by with somebody's skull in its mouth. Well said. Very well said. Further excavation of the site revealed a body inside multiple garbage bags held together with duct tape. Daniel said he could see human hair sticking out of the bag, later discovered to be 7-year-old J.J. Vallow. The jury has yet to hear the cause of death for him. So as someone said, the ground was probably hard, frozen, harsh weather in Idaho. Naturally, yes, the body thaws out due to the climate under the earth. Perfectly preserved. Hair still intact and remain. Very well said. It's very macabre. Oh, Lord have mercy. Now, once again, at 8:55, they found a body in the multiple garbage bags, which ended up being 7-year-old JJ. The jury is yet to hear the cause of death for him. Let's go up to 9:26. Daniel said there were huge differences between J.J. Vallow's remains and Tyler's remains. Such a big contrast to use as a team, going from J.J.'s remains very precise versus Tyler's remains a melted charred mass, Daniels said. Garth Warren, the chief forensic pathologist with Ada County Coroner, is now on the stand. This is at 9:38 a.m. 9:55 a.m. Warren said he conducted J.J. Vallow's autopsy on June 11, 2020 at the Ada County morgue. It lasted 4 hours, he said. The cause of death was asphyxiation by a plastic bag and duct tape over the mouth, Warren said. J.J. Vallow was also bound at the wrists and ankles with duct tape. He was buried in red pajamas with a blue children's blanket over his body. So here we have a baby bound at the wrists and ankles with duct tape, buried in blue pajamas, red pajamas with blue blanket over his body, asphyxiated. So somebody put a plastic bag over this child's face and duct tape over his mouth, suffocated him to death, buried him in his pajamas, covered him with a blue blanket. Wow. Oh, Lord have mercy. 10 a.m. Warren said a red flag was that there were scratches on J.J. Vallow's neck. Well, we also heard that scratches were on Daybell's neck. Commentary from Mr. David that testified last week that he noticed scratches on his neck. So there was a lot of struggling going on, obviously, between the two. Was JJ trying to get the bag off his head? It could be scratch marks of him trying to get it off his head, Warren said. There was bruising around his wrists and ankles, which were duct taped, along with additional bruising on JJ Vallow's upper arms. So perhaps somebody was suppressing the boy child while suffocating him. 10:50 a.m. The jury has shown autopsy photos of J.J. Vallow. The photos will not be available to those in the gallery watching because the defense objected to the nature of the photos being possibly prejudicial. Well, it's the truth. You're supposed to show what happens to a person during death and afterwards and how they were discarded. That's life. Nobody can understand. You just describing it. Describing it is bad enough. But people do want to see the photos, macabre as it is. The death is macabre anyway. But people need to see how the person died and how they ended up where they ended up. Interesting. 11:17 a.m. Warren is describing J.J. Vallow's body to the jury as they look at the autopsy photos. He was wearing red pajamas with a blue children's blanket draped over his lower body. The pajamas were soaked with decomposition fluid. Warren said J.J. Vallow was also wearing a diaper when he was found. Wait a minute. This boy was 7 years old. Please tell me that J.J. Vallow was not potty trained. Dear God, I'm done. So was this child still wearing children diapers? Was he still wetting the bed? And we know that children wet the bed. Usually it is a sign of trauma and abuse. That is one thing we've learned from adults who end up becoming sadists, serial killers, rapists. They wet the bed. And wetting the bed is a bad sign that a child is being abused. Was the child being abused in the household with Lori Vallow and her husband, Charles? Because I believe there's more to the story than just radical religion, an affair with with Chad. There's a whole lot more, I think, to this story, and I'm going to bring you that information from the words of Tammy. Perhaps there was friction in the house between Lori and her daughter, Lori and her husband, the husband and Tylee, and possibly malfunction with the boy child. And I'm sure many people are not going to want to hear that, but the truth needs to be revealed so we can get to the understanding of how Lori was thinking at the time she met Chad. God, I'm getting them mixed up. Because I think there's a little bit of dysfunction that was going on in Lori's house that also contributed to her getting on into this affair with Chad Daybell. You see, one thing begets another, as I told you. It's more to it than just the 144,000, the gathering of the people. Oh, that's just the top layer. As I said, that's what looks good on paper. Zombies and dark and light castings. It's more to it than that. because something had to have led her to be infatuated, enamored with this man. All right. JJ Vallow found wearing a diaper. This is even more disturbing than I had anticipated. 11:32 a.m. The jury is looking at a photo of JJ Vallow's face on the autopsy table. Warren is describing the discoloration on his skin as part of decomposition. The jury now sees JJ Vallow's neck. Warren said you can see the impression of where the duct tape was wrapped, some light brown and red hemorrhages and abrasions that are most consistent with scratching are on the left side of his neck and jaw, Warren described to the jury. Okay. 11:45 a.m. JJ Vallow bright red bruising underneath his fingernails. Warren said it means there was trauma to that area, he said, underneath his fingernails, because as they said, 9 times out of 10, the baby was scratching at his neck, trying to get that bag and that duct tape from around his mouth. Red bruising underneath his fingernails. That was testified at 11:45 a.m. Once again, cameras are not allowed in the courtroom, but KTV, the investigative and court reporter Alexander Duggan, will be there today bringing updates pertaining to this story. To recap what I just brought to you by KTVB7, court resumed today pertaining to the death of JJ Vallow, and many people had not known, but the child died of asphyxiation by a plastic bag and duct tape. And the autopsy showed he was obviously scratching at his neck, trying to get the bag off. Duct tape at the ankles and the wrists. Gruesome. Buried in his pajamas. Blue blanket covering his bottom portion. And he was also wearing a diaper. What in the hell did I just read? Who knew that the child was what? Still not potty trained at the age of 7? Or did they just buy a diaper to put on him because they figured he would possibly relieve himself after murdering? Because we do hear that many human beings use the restroom after death. But I got a sneaky suspicion JJ was not potty trained, and that's not good. That a boy child at that age, autistic or not, does not know how to use the restroom properly. This is disturbing to me. And will we find out he was not potty trained? Because usually when people die from murder, people don't really care about what's going to be released after death. They just discard them and get on with it. And depending on how you murder a person, especially if you cut them up, stab them, or shoot them, there's going to be liquid anyway. So you know that. And I can't see this group thinking that he would relieve himself from being suffocated. So I'm going to weigh on the latter. This boy child was not potty trained. This is why I said there is more to this story than what you're assuming about Lori Vallow and Chad. I believe Lori had some serious problems in her life, in her relationships, which led her to hop around from relationship to relationship, marriage to marriage, place to place, state to state. She's a runner. Things don't go well, she runs, she go get some new man. And you heard her say that to the sister in this 2020 video call in jail. I wasn't going to be alone. That's the whole point of the story, Lord. You've been alone. You've been alone in all your marriages. You've been alone in child rearing. You've been alone in being married. You've been alone in going to church. You're alone in believing in God and Jesus. You've been alone. That's what led you to Chad in the first damn place. You've been alone. And loneliness got you where you are right now, in jail. I believe that. She's always been looking for something, searching for a higher power, searching for a meaning of her life. Easily manipulated, easily infatuated. This is why a lot of people have the problems they have. Falling in behind the wrong people, liking the wrong people, enamored with the wrong people. They know they're no good for them. Possibly they're no good for the people either. But they ride the ride. And that's what happened with Alex. Chasing in behind Lori, as if really she was a girl he liked. Stay woke. And now he's dead. And his sister is incarcerated alongside her new husband. And too many people are dead pertaining to dealing with Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow Daybell. So no matter what you believe about Lori and Chad and Alex and Zulema and Melanie and this one and that one, the point is all these people were gullible to some degree, easily tainted, easily manipulated, easily coerced in riding the ride. Fortunately for some, they are currently alive. The others didn't make it. This is why you have to be careful about the company you keep. And no one's going to think because they have marital problems that their husband or wife is plotting their death. Who would think that? But when you start seeing erratic behavior, crazy talk, psychotic talk, run like hell. Don't stick around to find out the hard way. And see, Charles held on too long. I do not know if he actually filed for divorce from Lori, but the point is he hung around too long. He saw the signs she was unraveling. The first time she called him dark, told him he was an evil spirit by the name of Ned Schneider, he should have got his child and ran like hell. Because she was telling him then, I'm not normal. I'm not level-headed. I'm off my damn rocker. And he continued to fight and argue with Lori when he could have tried to save himself. And anybody talking like that, they wouldn't know where I am. They wouldn't have my address. They would not have nothing to track me or find me. I think like that. See, I believe he was still holding on for hope she would come around, get help. She did not, because by that time, she was already immersed into Chad Daybell. And see, what you have to ask yourself is the obvious. Whether she had problems or not in her marriage, she was fed up with being a mother. What was so special about Chad Daybell for her to just give it all up and risk incarceration and the death penalty by murdering her children and all these other entities? What is it that he said or did that made her think it was okay to murder these people and also sacrifice her livelihood? There's nothing you can say to me that I'm going to go out here and murder my child and murder other people and risk death myself. But she did. And you heard that in her commentary with her sister. Very numb, very evasive, talking matter-of-factly and mild-mannered when it comes to the deaths of her children, husband, Tammy, and the reasoning. I can't tell you. Which shows that she knew her children were dead, and she knew how they got dead and the why they are dead. I want to thank you all for following the content, listening to this live stream. The next live stream will be pertaining to Alex Cox and who he was and his relationship with Lori and how it came to be that a brother and a sister became diabolical in murdering people and children and other family members. And what was the motive for the deaths of these people? And are they the seeds of the tainted father and mother? because we have learned that when people have these types of issues, that usually it derives from somewhere: upbringing, trauma, abuse, and a jacked up gene pool. And as I said before, because Queen is good at paying attention to details, listening to Tylee's interrogation after the death of Charles, the murder of Charles, she confirmed what I had already said in a live stream. There was strife going on in Lori's house. So it was more than just this religious BS you're hearing that led her down this path. Lori was not happy at home. And I don't think her children were happy there either. So no matter what you've been hearing about Charles, yes, it was a setup to kill him perhaps. But I do believe these people were not getting along, and none of them were happy with one another at the house. And the dead man can't tell us any tales because he's dead. But Tylee's own words, I do believe. And I don't think she lied in that interrogation to the female detective. They had problems in their house. Maybe not every day. Police may not have been called every day. Nobody was getting hauled off to jail. DHS wasn't involved, to my knowledge. But there were a few times when there were some not so nice moments between all of the people in the house. And I believe this has helped curb her reasoning to get entangled with Chad, besides already having some warped ideologies of past lives and being married to some biblical entity. One thing begets another. And that's all it takes when you are already mentally disturbed. And I think she had issues in her marriage, issues with her children, issues with being a parent, issues with being a wife, not obtaining all she felt she deserved in life, maybe not getting the accolades she felt she deserved as being a mother and a wife, having mental issues, listening to warped ideologies from others, trying to be a perfect Christian. Somewhere down the line, Lori Vallow Daybell got distracted, got deceived. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. All stickers and chats are welcome during the live stream. Please go back to the beginning of this live stream to get the said information pertaining to the phone call with Lori and her sister from 2020, her testimony in court yesterday, pertaining to how she felt about her sister and how she came to find out that the children were missing and then located on Chad's property. You also hear the manner of death for JJ, which was revealed in court this morning in Ada County Courthouse. I want to thank you for your time. You all have a wonderful week. Please check my community board for said updates and polls. You have been listening to The Vault XL. See you shortly with live number 2.